Hey there friends, and welcome back to the garage. We're here with the CFMoto Ibex 450. I figured it was about time that we do a quick run through on the Ibex to show you all of the accessories that I've added and some of the mods I've done to the bike. So let's jump right in. I've got sticky notes all over the bike. We're just going to run through them all and I'll explain what everything is and why I decided to add it to the bike or to change it. All right, let's make this quick. So starting up front, we've got the official CFMoto tall windshield, which I've been very happy with. I usually leave it all the way down and it's still tall enough to prevent the buffeting, but sometimes when I'm on long highway rides, I will click it up a few clicks. As I've said in previous videos, the one caveat with this windshield is when you do go off-road, make sure to click it all the way down or it has a tendency to rattle a little bit. All right, next up we've got the handguards. So these are Barkbuster handguards with the Storm shield. So these are the bigger shields. There is an official part number that's associated with this bike that's meant to fit it. If you search on the Barkbuster site and type in CFMoto 450MT or Ibex, you will find it. What's nice is it does connect up front. So you get 2 points of contact, a full protection, and also they give you 2 different size spacers, and you're supposed to use one on one side and one on the other. I didn't like that, so I just went out and bought 2 of my own 8mm spacers and used the identical side on both sides of the bike. We've got the upper crash bars. So these are the CFMoto official accessory upper crash bars. They're great. They fit nicely. I had no trouble putting them on. I'm satisfied with them so far, and I highly recommend them. Although you can probably find similar crash bars aftermarket for cheaper. Staying up front, we've got the official CFMoto accessory lights. Again, there's many options you can go with here. I went with the official CFMoto approved accessory lights. They are branded by Denali. If you watch my video on the installation of these, it was a long and frustrating install. But in the end, I'm very happy with how everything turned out. They mount right up front here using a separate bar, so you can actually mount them even if you don't have the accessory bars. They give you a power button that I've routed up here and up under here. If I click it on or click it off, it shuts off power completely to the accessory lights, but they are wired to the accessory outlet for the headlights. So that means when you put your brights on, the accessory lights do also go on their bright mode. All right, so moving down here to the bottom of the bike, we have the official CFMoto accessory skid plate, which provides a thicker skid plate, but also more protection. I just got this when I ordered the bike because I knew I wanted something a little more stout than what the factory bike comes with. Now, if you don't plan on going off-road all that much, the factory skid plate's just fine, but if you know you're gonna be taking her off-road, this is a great solution. A couple of quick notes on it. It can be a little finicky taking off. Be careful not to strip the hex screws, but also when you do your oil changes, I do find that it's easier to just take off the whole skid plate rather than try to mess around with doing the oil with it still on. All right, staying up front here, you may notice I've got a sticky note on the front fender, which is kind of weird because this is the factory fender. But I wanted to remember to tell you all that at one point I did have the high fender on here, which you can see I've got sitting on the ground over here. And I do like the look of the high fender better, but I did decide I wanted to go back to the lower fender for a couple of different personal reasons. But since I've done that, I noticed that the bike runs a lot cooler because more air is able to get into the radiator as I'm riding. So there's definitely pros and cons. I've also noticed that a lot less mud gets up into these header pipes here because this fender comes down a little bit lower. But if you're simply out for aesthetic, that high fender is pretty cool looking. Okay, coming into the dash area, I've got a sticky note on the dash just to remind you all that I did put a screen protector on the instrument panel here, which has been great. I've already seen a few scratches on it, so I know that that's been protecting the original plastic. Obviously, I have a quad lock here, which is great for mounting my phone. Here in the middle, I've got this sort of self-designed contraption GoPro connector that I use for my drone. So this is a combination of a quad lock connection with a quad lock GoPro mount, and then I have a special mount on the underside of my controller for my drone so that I can basically mount it straight here, and it's just clear of both my quad lock on this side and my GoPro mount on this side. So yes, I've got a secondary GoPro mount over here as well. I've got a sticky note down here just to tell you all that I did get the accessory foot pad for the Sidestand. This is the CFMoto branded one. There's tons of different ones out there. I liked the black one better, so I got the black. I obviously have the CFMoto rear racks. So these are the official CFMoto rear racks that came from the factory. So they did cost a little bit more, but I knew that I wanted to ultimately get the CFMoto hard cases. So for a while, I had these racks on the bike with no cases, and then about 6 months later, I did buy the cases, which you can see here. And they've worked out really well. I like them. Yes, they're a little bit heavier, but I've been very happy with them. You will notice that the right side case is cut out to make room for the exhaust. I like that they both go out to the same width from the bike. The sticky note on top is just to note that that whole setup with the cases also came with a rear rack extension that also came with a top box. If you watched my Colorado videos from this year, you'll see that I did use all 3 hard cases for my trip, and I was thrilled with it. I was able to get everything for that entire trip into those 3 boxes. Moving around to this side of the bike, I've got this here just to note that I have my Moscow Moto bag set up on the bike for my top, or for my tank bag. I did put these very simple protection rubber stickers on either side of the tank. Now this particular set came with a whole bunch of stickers. I didn't want to like put stuff all over the nice clean look, but I did put these single pads on both sides because I noticed that is where my legs were most often touching. But I kept the tank free, and I kept this part free and all of this free just because I like the clean look of the bike better. This is just to denote that I have a power connection here up to the battery. So this is where I plug it into my battery tender on the wall to keep it trickle charged. This one here is a little bit tricky. So if you come down to the bike, there's this little rubber grommet here. And if you take it out, there's this wonderful little spot here, which for a while I was carrying my registration and insurance information in a little baggie in there. Great place to kind of stash stuff if you're looking for a fun hiding cubby on the bike. This note is just to let you guys know that one of the first things that I adjusted or modified on the bike was I went in behind here and I tweaked the screws to sort of bring up the brake a little bit or bring down the brake. I can't remember which way I went, but I needed to adjust sort of the engaging point of the brake so that I could comfortably rest my foot and then not have to press it too far to actually engage the brake. Coming around the other side, similarly, I did also have to slightly adjust the shifting lever because it was a little bit too high, and so I just tweaked these screws here and brought it down just a little bit so that it's the way I like it. Another thing back here that I did modify that I forgot to put a sticky note on is I bought the little chain guide. This is an official CFMoto part as of 2026. It was not available last year, but it's available now for the new model. I decided to put this on just because I was doing a lot of bumpy off-road riding, and it keeps the chain from potentially slipping off. And it's plastic, so it weighs almost nothing. Now coming up here, I did forget to mention that I did buy the official CFMoto metal radiator guard. This was not available last year. This has now only become available as of 2026. And there's a lot of options out there for radiator guards, but I just went ahead and bought the official CFMoto branded one because it essentially weighs the same as the plastic one, and I only wanted the upper half. I didn't want all that lower stuff that could potentially get caught on the fender. So I really like it. It's nice, it's stout, and it didn't really add any weight to the bike. All right, a couple other things coming around. I'm just gonna lift the seat up for a minute and show you a couple things we've got going on under the bike. So here in the center of the bike, you'll see that I've mounted a little first aid kit. I've just Velcroed it right under the seat here, so I always know I have some first aid supplies if I need them. I did remove the factory toolbox, and I instead put my documents in here. So this is where I keep my registration, my insurance. The reason I was able to do this is because if we come back over here to my hard cases, you'll notice that I do have a full toolbox that I keep now on me at all times. So this is the same tool roll that I had on the Himalayan back in the day. And this is what I use as my primary toolkit. The tool roll is from Cruise Tools, and then I supplemented it with some of my own things. Similarly, in my other case, I keep my tire repair equipment. So I've got a small pouch for tubeless tire repair. And then I also bought the eastbound kits to take off my tires. And so just these 2 little bags is everything I need to take off a tire if I need to. But hopefully I won't need to since it's tubeless and I can just patch it. So all the tools I need to do chain adjustment, tire removal, whatever I've got. And then I've also got the patch kit. And I don't have to carry massive boxes with tubes in it anymore, which I love because this is a tubeless bike. I want to come over here and show you all that I do also have the tall seat still in its bag. So I bought this specifically because I knew I was going to be doing some long road-oriented rides and I wanted more comfort. Now for my height, the standard factory seat works better. I'm able to flat foot on the ground at 5'9", but I'm willing to sacrifice the ability to flat foot for a more comfortable seat if I know I'm going to be spending hours and hours on paved roads. So I'm glad I have this seat. It's here if I need it. I have swapped it out a few times. But for the most part, I stick with the factory lower seat. So while we're over here, I'll show you a few other things I have on the floor. First off, I did buy the CFMoto accessory for the rear reservoir guard, which I'm not even sure why I bought it. I was gonna put it on. I was like, this is kind of silly. It's just extra weight. Along those lines, I also have the front caliper guard, which was like 20 bucks or something. And you know, I also just don't have it on the bike. I don't know if I'll ever put it on, but I have it sitting here. I guess if I want to put it on, I can. Lastly, I do have the lower crash bars, which I had on the bike for a while. For now, I've decided to take them back off to try to shave a little bit of weight. So I may put them back on if I do a long trip somewhere again in the near future. But for now, I've just got them in my accessory bin. Okay, we're wrapping up here. I do have one other accessory in my accessory bin, which I'm not going to tear out because it's kind of buried, but I did buy the center stand for the CFMoto. It is really big, really heavy, really bulky. I'm glad I have it. I may consider putting it on, but once I actually got my hands on it and I realized how massive it was and that so far I haven't really needed a center stand, I kind of just decided I'm gonna leave it off for now. I mean, I have what I need to do all my bike maintenance here in the garage with the stand I have, and the side stand has served me perfectly well. But I will say that I did buy an emergency side stand. It's one of these guys. I don't know if you've ever seen these, but these are basically emergency stands that you can prop up on the other side of your bike to essentially give you a makeshift kind of shoddy center stand. I think this cost me like 40 bucks from Raid Garage, maybe is the company. And I did test it out. It's a little bit hard to get up on this stand, but once you get it up on the stand, you actually can work on the bike as though you have a center stand. That's kind of what I'm going with, as opposed to putting on that massive bulky center stand. Another quick update is I will tell you that I did update my firmware finally. It finally recognized the fact that I was a few iterations behind and allowed me to update. I'm checking it again now just to see. I've been fairly happy with the app on the phone, as you can see as well. The update on the phone never works. You've got to do it through your hotspot, sort of through the bike itself. As you can see, it is saying that I'm up to date. So again, I've only gotten the one update since owning the bike. I can't really think of anything else that I'm gonna do with the bike in the short term, but one exception is if you look up here, I do have a set of new Tusk 2-track tires that I may at some point put on the bike, but I don't have any plans on doing that until I run these down. And as you can see, they still look pretty good for 3,000 miles. I've been pretty happy with these factory tires. If you come around back here, also looks pretty good. A little flat in the middle. We're starting to get some noticeable wear, but you know, these have still got at least another 2,000 miles in them. And you know, I've got to say, I'm thrilled with the quality of the factory tires. So probably another full season before I go ahead and put those babies on the bike. That'll do it for me. Take care, everyone. Be safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Oh, not quite done yet. So a couple quick things that I forgot to mention. First off, get your suspension dialed in how you like it. Now you could take this bike home from the factory and not change a single thing. And for 95% of you, that's probably fine. But for those of you that do want to tweak it a little bit, get in there, mess around with the clickers, see how you like it, go for test rides, measure your sag. If you've got heavy luggage on there, adjust the preload, do all those things. You have the luxury of that with this bike. You have adjustable suspension. So get in there and do it. Another little tweak that I made to the bike that I found to be surprisingly effective was I went out and I bought one of these $25 little mechanical cruise control levers that you crank down to your throttle. You get up to speed and you basically push it down onto your brake lever and it holds your throttle steady. And I will say I'm surprised at how well it worked. Now, is it a little sketchy? Is it a little dangerous? Maybe. But given that the one thing that the Ibex does not have that I wish it did, which is cruise control, this is your next best option. A quick carryover from the Himalayan is I still keep my little secret stash earplug case back here inside the pannier, velcroed to the top, so that I know no matter where I go, if I've forgotten my earplugs, I always have an emergency pair. Another thing that's worth mentioning that I carry on the Ibex that I really would carry on any bike and I think is good to have is what I affectionately dub my bag o' bits. So as you can see here, I've got this small Patagonia pouch, which weighs maybe a pound, and maybe I should make a whole video about what I carry in this, but in short, I carry some small maintenance things, a tiny little can of extra lube, some zip ties, some extra nuts and bolts, some JB Weld, some Loctite, things like that, all sorts of little things that are handy to have just in case I find myself broken down in the middle of nowhere or I just need that little extra part. I think I carry a voltmeter, a little flashlight, stuff like that. You get the idea. So another really important thing that I carry on my Ibex that I highly recommend is my old phone. So this is my solution for all of my navigation. I kept my old iPhone SE. I clip this to the handlebar and then I pair it to my actual phone that I keep in my pocket. If I know I'm going to be going somewhere incredibly remote, I do what I can beforehand to try to mitigate any problems. So I'll download all the offline maps. I'll get the navigation going while I'm still in signal and make sure not to shut the phone down. And it always stays connected as long as I start the navigation ahead of time. So is a $500 Garmin Zumo better because of its more reliable connectivity off the grid? Probably, but in all the years that I've been riding, this second phone solution has worked out great for me. So speaking of phones, two other quick things that I carry with me at all times on the Ibex that I highly recommend is some sort of charging bank that you can get at least 2 or 3 full charges on your phone out of. In this case, I think this is a 10,000 milliamp hour charging bank. And the second thing is on my phone itself, I always carry a digital PDF copy of the Ibex 450 owner's manual. That way, if I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I've forgotten my paper copy of the owner's manual and I need to look up some detailed specification on the bike, I've got a copy right there on my phone. All right, one last thing before I finally end this video for good, and still on the topic of phones, but if you do get yourself an Ibex 450 or really any CFMoto for that matter, I highly recommend taking the time to download the relevant app to your phone. Now in this case here in the US, for me, that app is called RideSync, and I love it. It's installed on my phone. I can go in, I can look at all the statistics. If you're anything like me and you're a numbers person, definitely download the app. Okay, well that was a long one. Thanks for sticking around. I'm sure I forgot to mention some obscure tweak or mod I've done to the bike, but if I do think of anything after publishing this, I'll put it in the video description. For now, I'm gonna sign off. For real this time, no more encores. Take care everyone, be safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Psych!